Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to the Lochknits knitting podcast. My name is Haley. I am a tattoo artist, crafter, knitter, crocheter, spinner, sewist, quilter from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania in the United States. It has been a hot minute since I have filmed, an even hotter minute since I filmed a traditional show and tell format, which is what today's episode is all about. I have so many finished objects, couple whips, a lot of fun plans for fall and Rhinebeck and some travel plans. So there is a lot to cover. I do want to say at the very end of the episode, I'm going to have a little destash. This is not a destash for supplies or tools, but actually for finished knitted objects that my friend Sock and I are just sort of moving on from. We've reached the end of our journey with these items. If you are interested in it, I would fast forward to the very end and the information will be down below as to whether or not these items are still available. Everything I talk about in this episode that is relevant or important will also be in the description box below, and you can find all of my information for social media down there as well. First of all, let's talk about what I'm wearing because I didn't make this, but it's so beautiful and I love it. Let me stand up so you can see it. So I'm pretty sure I've never talked about this on the podcast before. I actually got this right before the weather turned for summer. So this is one of my first opportunities to actually wear it. My best friend Brienne, you know Brienne, she is Moon and Yarn. She is the owner of the best yarn store in the world, Moon and Yarn Craft Room. And she is also diving into quilting too. So she had made these beautiful sawtooth star quilt blocks and then zigzag, some kind of zigzag variety, stitched them onto these sweatshirts. She's made one for me and for Sock, and I think she made one for herself. There's like a whole series of these. She got Comfort Colors sweatshirts. This is my first Comfort Colors. I did have to cut the neck off of it just because this is how I wear sweatshirts these days. With some yoga pants, and it's just so cute. It feels very like special and one of a kind. She did make it for me, which I love. We love like the tulip pink tattooing fabric. We are starting to get into the chillier like fall times here in the northeastern part of the United States, which is a true blessing. I miss all my sweaters and my knits and everything. So happy to be sporting this today. I also have a pair of knit socks on. Here they are. I finished these a couple months ago. These are the Ridiculous yarns and then a little like contrast toe situation up there. But I finished those a few months ago. Again, hasn't really been the season for super intense, tightly knit socks. So I'm just happy to be like cozy and cuddled up. And I think that's it for what I'm wearing. I am gonna jump straight into finished objects. I have many of them. One big update. If you guys had watched the last episode where I discussed my steeking venture on the Kingston cardigan, I want you all to know that worked out. Here is my cardigan. So this is so cute. Before I even get into like sharing this, I want to talk about, just in case you are new or haven't watched whatever episode that was, I honestly have no idea. My friend Sock and I had a little knit along just for the two of us to make the Kingston cardigan, and Taylor Owen, I'm pretty sure it's Taylor Owen, is the designer. The link to the Ravelry pattern will be like down below, obviously. We wanted to knit the Kingston cardigan. We've had this pattern. We've both wanted to knit it, so we said, let's just do like our own mini knit along situation. We desperately, both of us, needed cardigans in our wardrobe. This is just not something that we're as likely to knit as like our regular standard pullover. True to form, I got to probably about right here. So cast on from the top, I'm knitting flat, working this way, and I get to the end of the V increases, and I said to Sock, if I continue knitting this flat and purling every other row, I will simply perish. I will expire. So I'm gonna learn how to steek. And Sock was like, all right, brother, let's see how this goes. So I basically forced myself to figure out how to steek. After I was done with these V increases, I added steek stitches. I had seen many videos about adding in steek stitches. I have an update to the steeking situation overall in my steeking experience with another finished object, which is really exciting. But for my first one, I wanted to add in more steeking stitches than I thought I would need, just to give myself a little physical wiggle room in case my crochet reinforcement was not as secure as I thought it was going to be. So I actually ended up adding 15 steek stitches total. You can see this band here. This is where I cut and tacked it down. There's a gray line of yarn right there. That is my crochet reinforcement. So this first go was like a little bumpy. I don't think I pulled it back enough before I whip stitched it down. I'd actually whip stitched this twice. I did on both sides a whip stitch with the yarn that I used to do the crochet reinforcement. It was a little thinner than the gauge of yarn that I had used on this entire project. And I noticed, and you can see here because I'm pointing it out, that in the light, you can see where this ridge is. This is where I have tacked the steek stitch down. Now I have it down with sewing thread, but previously I tried doing that whip stitch with the yarn that I did the crochet reinforcement with, and it just basically was pulling on the stitches. From the front, it was very visible. I didn't like it, so I just unpicked one side, took some sewing thread. I just had like plain white cotton that I used to like quilt with and everything, cut a length of that and used that instead, and it worked out just fine. Overall, this worked out great. I watched 3 really valuable videos about steeking. I will put them in the description box below and kind of label them as such. I can't remember who made them, or they were just done in such a way that like they really spoke to me personally, and each one of these 3 videos kind of added its own value to the knowledge that was like compounding in my brain, because it's just so scary to make an entire sweater and then cut it in half. But like I said, it ended up working out great. It is so cute. I don't have any photos of this yet on my person, so I still have to sort that out, but it's cute. It's pretty cropped. It comes up to like about my waist, which is usually where I wear everything. There's a slight cable detail down here, down like the length of the raglan increase. There was supposed to be one down the length of the body. I got bored by that time and I really just wanted to like be done with it, honestly. So this was my first foray into steeking. I got to choose my buttons, which we all know is really fun. They are so cute. I just got these from Joann Fabrics. I've said it before on the podcast plenty of times, but basically after the separation of the sleeves and the body, I don't really read patterns anymore. I did follow the decreases on the sleeves just because I wanted them to be fitted, and I liked the rate of decreases that she had written in the pattern, but the ribbing and the neckband and everything, like that was just kind of like me flying by the seat of my pants. I think for this gauge I ended up doing 3 to 4 stitch ratio for picking up the neckband. That sounds about right. The yarn I used for this was Mace of Skeins fingering weight in the color Gumdrop, and the fluff that I used with this was the fluff yarn that I used for this was the Lina du Nord Cache Silk Light. That was in the colorway Seafoam. Oh, and the Mace of Skeins is the Spade Base Gumdrop. I used 2 skeins of the Mace of Skeins fingering weight yarn, and I guess an unknown amount, I'm pretty sure it was like 5 or 6 of the Cache Silk Light. I ended up having to buy more of that, but it's pretty widely available, so it wasn't a big deal. But yeah, there's my cardigan. Sock is still working on hers. Sock is actually planning on steeking hers as well, so we'll see how that goes. Maybe we'll get like a cute little picture together or something in our matching sweaters. Love it. Speaking of steeking, I started and finished another steeking project since the time I last spoke with you guys, and this one is on a much smaller scale with a lot of interesting color work in it, and here he is. Isn't this cute? The buttons have little stitches on them. Isn't that darling? So I made a Strange Brew cardigan for my nephew Henry. So my best friend Gail has a son Henry. He just turned 5. He is incredibly tiny, small little guy, so he might have to grow into this, but The minute I get photos of him in this, I will put them in the next episode. But this is just a Colorwork Strange Brew sweater. I used the Strange Brew book by Tin Can Knits. I had a whole moment with Strange Brew a few months ago. A very sweet podcast viewer mailed me the book. It was crazy, it was fun. So I put the book to good use. These are all motifs from the back of the Strange Brew book. This is a fingering weight sweater. My fingering weight gauge on a US 5, which is my personal preference, like feels good to knit with, feels good as a finished fabric. The gauge that I get from fingering weight on a US 5 is actually the exact gauge for the entire Strange Brew book for their fingering weight gauge, which is really nice. Makes it easy to just jump in and knit something up. So this is the 4 to 6 year size. And Henry is 5 now, but again, he's really, really tiny. So I hope, honestly, that this will last him for a couple years. But the yarn I use, the main color is Malabrigo Sock in the, I don't know how to pronounce this colorway name. It's DISFRAZ. I have no idea what that's trying to tell me. I used 2 skeins of that, and I used 1 skein each. I had a lot left over, but 1 skein each of the 4 contrast colors. This is Universal Yarn Merino Minis in the neon collection. They're all neon colors. It's just fingering weight superwash merino nylon. I bought them on a whim from Stitch Central near Philadelphia when I popped down there like accidentally for the Philadelphia yarn crawl, and they've been sitting in my stash and I just think they look so cute. Little bit of like low contrast action, but you can really see it on the back. But yeah, I love how cute this is. It was really fun. I feel like with any colorwork sweater, it gets really boring as soon as you're done doing the color work, but I just wanted to have a second steeking project to feel confident and continue to like build on my skills. So I finished this all up and then I steeked it. I did the sleeves and everything before I steeked it. It was exercise in dedication to the cause. So I did everything and then I steeked it. I added the neckband, and not the neckband, the button band. I added the button band. And if you noticed on my Kingston cardigan, it was a whole neckband. So because of like the V-neck, it wasn't from the hem up to the neck. The whole neckband was worked at one time. So from the very bottom of the hem all the way up around the neck and then back down the other side. That was all one cast on situation. On this cardigan, this was a little different. I had already done the ribbing up top and then the ribbing on the hem. So when I did the steeking and cut it, I only had to do this and then on the opposite side to make the buttonhole row. I hope that makes sense, but it was a lot easier. I'm very much looking forward to making a cardigan for myself that doesn't have like a V-neck shaping, like neckband situation. The other thing I wanted to point out, and it's like really obvious on camera, but Henry's 5 years old and quite frankly, I don't care. There is clearly a serious color difference between my 2 skeins. I did alternate skeins a little bit, but I still got this like really heavy pooling of color at the bottom. I don't really care. I'm just telling you, Malabrigo sock, if that's something that would bug you, maybe plan ahead. This color story all over reminds me of something so specific. Tell me if you know what I'm talking about. When you get an M&M McFlurry from McDonald's and halfway through, all the color from the M&Ms has like soaked off and blended into the ice cream. This is what that looks like. This is my cardigan for Henry. It is so cute. I cannot wait to update you guys with some photos of him wearing it. It's like vaguely autumnal. It's definitely not summery, but vaguely autumnal. I hope he gets a lot of use out of it. It's super cute. Also for Henry, this project is not exciting, but the yarn is, so I wanted to share it with you guys. My friend Megan, who is RainbowCakeCat, is a very, very, very prolific spinner, and she is so incredibly talented. She gifted me some handspun yarn a while ago. I actually can't even remember where I got it. No, May? Maybe it was in May? I saw her sometime this year. She's back in Pittsburgh. I think I went out there to tattoo. I honestly have no recollection. She gave me some handspun yarn. I made Henry a hat out of it. Look how cute! Isn't this pooling impressive? For like it being handspun yarn, I just think it's like so fun and cute. It's like this purpley, almost like bruise color, which I love. It's like very like muted eggplant and this like super intense high contrast orange. It's so cute. This was a chain plied yarn, so 3-ply that Megan spun. And I wanted to share about the construction of this hat because I know there's probably a lot of people out there in the universe like me that like I know how many stitches around a hat for a child size should be or a hat for an adult based off of my personal gauge, average yarn weight, like all of that stuff. Like I just know in my head it's usually like 72, 96, 108 or 112. Like there's just certain numbers that stand out to me in my mind. Knowing that I wanted to do this at, I'm pretty sure this one was 72 stitches, I actually cast on from the top. So this handspun yarn is so special. I wanted to make sure that I use like every inch of it and to make Henry as long of a hat as possible that it can like come over his ears. So I actually cast on from the very top, did all of my increases until I got to that number that I knew I was gonna be confident in knitting. And then I was able to use almost every square inch. There was not a ton of yarn left over, maybe like a couple yards. It really worked out. I think this size is perfect for his little noggin. Yeah, I'm just excited. So I know oftentimes we tend to hoard yarn that is very special or precious, especially handspun yarn, but I just wanted to like put that plug out there into the universe that you can cast on from the top. If you have the, what's it called? The Musselburgh hat pattern, you can also just stop knitting it, you know, like halfway down. That is the exact same construction with the cast on, measure your gauge, continue knitting, etc., etc. But that's just a little hat I made for Henry. I love this time of year to make a little package of different like knitted stuff to mail him, spruce up his wardrobe for the fall weather, you know. I had a really specific itch that needed scratch. I was craving like something small and attainable, a little like accessory knit, and I started my Christmas knitting for my nieces. I have 3 of them, another one on the way. I wanted to make something super cute that I could make similar but different variations for each one of them for the holidays. So this is the first one I made. I made my niece Clara a little hat. It's so cute. We got some cute little like flower motifs, actual flowers, buns. And this was a scrap project. This is just like colors that I curated that I thought went nicely together. This yarn here is Plymouth Homestead. And then each one of these contrast colors are actually from my Row 1 Carnival of Color Yarn Club packs that were so generously gifted to me over the last couple of months. So I actually held these double, so each little ball of fingering weight yarn is held double throughout here just to meet like a similar gauge to the Plymouth Homestead, and it turned out like perfectly. So cute. To make this hat, this was again just like a general number of stitches that I cast on to work with that sort of worsted, sort of Aran weight gauge. All of my stitch counts and everything are linked to the individual projects on my Ravelry page. My Ravelry profile is linked down below also in like my social media and everything. So if you're curious about how many stitches and how much yarn and all the details of that stuff, you can find it all in my Ravelry. I'm very like diligent about that. And with those general stitch counts that I knew I needed for the yarn I was using, I actually used the Pacific Knit Co. doodle packs. Do you guys know what those are? They're awesome. I've talked about them before on the podcast. This is what the cards look like. I don't have my cards in here. I will show you how I have my cards arranged. But this is one pack that I have. This is the summer doodle pack. So all of these motifs and a lot more are on trading card size cards. You can get these directly from their website, but you can also get them from the Moon and Yarn craft room. If you want to click the link below, Brienne has a ton available in her shop right now. I have some coming in the mail I'll talk about that at the end. But I had all these doodle packs. I wanted to be able to really visualize them all together, and even though I didn't play Pokemon as a child, I definitely had all the trading cards arranged in a little binder just so I could see everything at once. That's what I did with my doodle pack cards, just to keep them nice and arranged. Here they are. Isn't this cute? So all of my cards, I'm not gonna keep that open too long. All of my cards are in here. I just went to, I'm pretty sure I got this from Walmart or Target. I got a little tiny binder, and there are specific inserts for in a binder, usually sold next to the binders in the same aisle, for trading cards. So you can get these little like plastic inserts and arrange them in here. In each insert, I have 2 cards, both facing out, so when you flip the page over, they are 2-sided. So I have the summer pack, the spring pack, Rhinebeck, and Valentine's. And like I said, I do have some other ones coming in the mail because I've been getting so much use out of these. I love them. They are so fun. If you guys have been watching for a long time, you know that I am chronically addicted to buying mini skeins of yarn, but I do use them, so I don't feel bad about it. And this is a perfect use for my desire to constantly buy mini skeins. This is just like a really easy way to visualize these cards all together, especially when you're knitting something like a hat that does have a pretty specific like height that you need to reach. It's really nice to be able to like flip through, and I got to the top with the bunnies here, and I knew I wanted one more motif, so I found a really short motif that I could just sneak in there really quick before I did like my decreases and everything. So it's just awesome. Like all of these tools that we use and collect, I feel like sometimes don't always get used as much as we hope they do. This is not one of them for me. This is getting so much use in my life. And this, like I said, will be the first of 3, probably more than that. I'll probably end up knitting more than that before Christmas time, but I did begin my Christmas and Hanukkah knits. I'm not even done with my finished objects yet. I have one more finished object. Speaking of our darling Brienne from the Moon and Yarn Craft Room, she had reached out to me and said, hey, can you make another sample knit for me? And I said, yes, I absolutely can. She had a special anniversary colorway that she emailed me a skein of, and basically just wanted a 1 skein wonder project for a shop sample. So this is the yarn in question. Isn't that cute? And she had requested that I make the Mayflower shawl. I will put a picture of it over here. She had requested that I make the Mayflower shawl, and you guys know this is a channel of like brutal honesty, so I'll tell you that I sat and knitted the Mayflower shawl, which is a free pattern on Ravelry that is very stunning with many successful projects. I sat and knitted that for 2.5 hours, and I got about 1 inch of knitting. There is a stitch in there, the like flower stitch, that just I like could not conceptualize, and there wasn't a YouTube tutorial or anything. And I texted Brienne and I said, Mayday, this isn't working. And she was like, I don't care, like just do whatever you want. So I actually found another pattern that ended up working out perfectly. So let me show you what I ended up making. Isn't she cute? So this is a little, I don't know if I can get it all on the screen here. Yeah, this is a little shawlette. This is the Long Story Short pattern by Casapinka. If you guys are avid knitting people, you definitely would have heard of Casapinka. I want to put this on real quick because I just haven't had a chance to. She's just like a cute little lacy shawl. I wish I had like a turtleneck or something on. I would like put this over my shoulders. It would be so cute. So this is a 1 skein wonder fingering weight yarn pattern by Casapinka. It is a lace mini scarf shawlette. There is an option to make it longer, and you can tell that I got scared because I definitely had enough yarn to make it longer, and I just like felt the fear of the bind off in my soul. So could have made it longer, could have made it bigger, but I didn't. It is like my ideal knitting. I love knitting with fingering weight yarn. I love a little bit of lace. I love a good feather and fan variation. It is just so cute. So it's a circular shot. Is that what it's called? Circular? You start at the top with a garter tab and then you keep working your way out. It's like a oh God, why can't is it circular? I don't know, I'm like way overthinking it, but it's this shape. There's a lot of like garter love in here where you're just non-stop knitting back and forth. Like everybody loves to see that. Everybody loves to do it. There is some really ingenious German short row shaping in here as well that gives it a little bit of length without using too much yarn in like the depth portion of it. It's like one of those patterns that's just interesting enough. It's kind of TV knitting. I did have to pause what I was watching when I did the first couple lace sections, but then after that, I mean, like the lace is pretty much all the same. So it's just really nice. It's really cute. The sample the pattern is knit in, I think, a mostly tonal with slightly speckled yarn. And that is what she recommends in the pattern, but I don't feel like the lace is being like obstructed in any way by the variegated yarn. It's also like probably mostly gonna live like this, hung up on a hanger. I think it's really cute and sweet. I am such a big fan of like shawls over the shoulder. It's just like a really nice like little house on the prairie comfort thing for me. I am not one to like re-knit patterns after I'm immediately done knitting them, but I really want one of these for myself. It was super fun. I would, on one hand, completely and totally recommend this pattern if you have like one skein of fingering yarn in your stash that is plaguing you, or that you want it to be like a wearable thing but you aren't sure what to make. I will say there is an error in one section of the pattern, and it's two or three rows in that section. I and many other people who have knitted it have made notes on the Ravelry page. So for sure, if you knit it, please reference my notes on my project page, because I wrote on there very clearly where the error is. It's actually like, I'm not gonna say like common sense, because the common sense scenario should just be that the pattern is correct. But when you're knitting it, you kind of get to that point where you're like, wait a minute, that number has appeared nowhere else in the pattern. That seems wrong. That's the row with the mistake in it. But I just wanted to point that out, because on one hand, like I said, totally would recommend. I think this is like such a cute little finished product, but I did have to like undo a row with like 100 something stitches in it, and it made me feel like I was gonna like, you know, like freak out. That's the shawl pattern. It is so cute. This extends, this panel right here with the lace does extend further. There are written instructions in the pattern for I think like 20 more rows if you have a skein of fingering weight yarn that is closer to like 440 or 450 yards. And like I said, I had enough yarn for it, but I just got like scared of the bind off. I don't know what my problem was. I had enough yarn to do it, so you can do it on yours too. It's just so pretty. It's just a cute little shawl. It's sweet. This would be a great knit for Rhinebeck. This would be a great thing to buy yarn for while you're at Rhinebeck. We're gonna talk about Rhinebeck at the end of the episode. So that is the long story short shawl by Casapinka. I am gonna put this in the mail to our sweet darling Brienne, that she may receive it later this week. I think that's it for finished objects. I'm like very certain that's it. Let me talk about whips. I have one, and you know what? It's on the other side of the room, and it's a hat. It's a classic ribbed hat. I'll show it to you when it's done. It's like really not that exciting. I do have a crochet project in my Lochknits bag that I made for myself a long time ago. She's cute. So I was talking Rhinebeck. I guess we're gonna talk about Rhinebeck now. This is a project for Rhinebeck. We are now doing both Friday and Saturday. I will not be at Cake, but Brienne and Megan will. And then everybody is going to Indie Untangled. I have my eyes set on the Goth yarn dyers at Indie Untangled. I'm coming for a sweaters quantity. However, this changes things because now I need 2 Rhinebeck outfits. Rhinebeck being like the whole weekend. I, like many of you guys, are scared about global warming and how it's like still in the mid-70s in October and the weather is really unreliable and unpredictable. And I was like, you know what? I barely have a need for 1 sweater, much less 2 sweaters for 2 separate days of Rhinebeck adventures. Why don't I just make a really fun shawl instead? And I was touched by the spirit of like the moody, scrappy yarn influence. And I started a granny stitch triangle shawl by just making a granny stitch triangle. So there's no pattern. Pattern is granny stitch triangle. Google it. Here she is. Doesn't it look pretty? It looks even prettier on the screen than it does in person. Oh, I just love it. I'm like kind of sort of approaching the point, like the points are touching at the back of my neck, so I'm like getting there with it. I've only been working on this for like 4 days. This is so much fun. So, couple things. First of all, like I said, this is just a granny stitch triangle. It's nothing crazy. Every other row is black or black variant yarn, and then the opposite rows are scrap yarns from my stash. So the only qualifier to be included in this shawl was that the yarn was moody. And I guess this is my interpretation of moody, which looks distinctly like rainbow fish. Big stash buster, scrappy project, no rules, just a triangle, super fun. Oh my God, are there a lot of ends to weave in on this? I did want every other row to be a different color. Even the rows that have like the primarily black yarn, I have some black shifting into gray yarn. I have that Cece's wool that I didn't really like that I'm trying to use up the rest of. That's more of like a rainbow asphalt, sort of like purpley, greenish, blackish gray. And then I actually have a solid black in here as well. Trying to alternate them in a way that is visually interesting. And then I'm changing colors every row anyway for the contrast color. So let me draw your attention to this. See the top row? See all these little nubbins sticking out here? Just these little edges, and there's some right here. So I am not as confident with my crocheting as I am with my knitting, and I am going to, obviously, when I'm all done, block this and everything. I really want my ends to settle in without popping out. So I gave them a little extra space to grow. Not a ton, maybe like just a 1/4 inch on all these little ends and everything, but I will go through and trim them very close to the project as soon as it's finished blocking. Other than the fact that there's a ton of ends to weave in, there's a million little mini skeins of yarn like falling around my couch and everything. I have like multiple bags. This bag just is holding the black yarn. So all of my like colors are in a totally separate project bag. It is like the most not portable thing ever, but like I said, it is working up very, very, very quickly. The rows are getting longer, which I love, like some repetitive granny stitch row action. I just love this. I love it so much. I didn't want it to be anything crazy, which I don't think it is. I think it's like fun and a little interesting. I get to use all my mini skeins. Every row is a new adventure. And not much more to say about that other than I am excited to finish it. I don't have anything in this fine of a gauge crochet wise in my life. I have my little triangle like bandana thing, but nothing like big and squishy like a shawl or a garment or anything. This is really inspiring me to make a crochet sweater also in the granny stitch because it's just so beautiful. But I'm having fun with it. It's cool, it's crazy. Like I said many times, I love buying mini skeins. I like buying mini skeins at Rhinebeck and yarn festivals. I like getting advent calendars. I've had my friends have gifted me little mini skeins before that they don't know what to do with. I can find a mini skein project for almost anything. I just love them so much. I love an excuse to wind them all up, sit on my couch, and make something fun with them. So that is my Rhinebeck shawl. I think I'm gonna end up wearing this on Friday and then my sweater on like the main Rhinebeck day on Saturday. I will talk next episode about my Rhinebeck sweater plans because I found a pattern. It's so cute. Next up, I want to share a quilt top that I made. I just finished the top this morning, so it's very fresh in my mind and I wanted to share it. I have been quilting. I quilt a lot less over the summer because the spirits are just like not speaking to me. It's like really hot. I have to have the iron on all the time. I get really like sweaty when I quilt because I'm always like leaning over, like cutting something or ironing something or like shoving something through the sewing machine. It's just like not a fun summer activity for me. I hear some people talk about this like with knitting, that they don't love knitting with wool over the summer. I am not plagued with that, but I definitely have like really specific time during the year that I just have no desire to quilt whatsoever. It's coming back as soon as Starbucks releases like the pumpkin flavor. It's time for me to quilt. I actually got a bunch of flannel fat quarters from an online friend turned tattoo client turned regular friend, Colette. You might know Colette as Squircle Knits. Colette blessed me with a ton of fat quarters when I tattooed her in, I don't remember, sometime in May. This is the tattoo we did. It was so cute. So I got a bunch of these flannel fat quarters and I made a huge, not huge, but I mean like pretty big patchwork quilt top. Aren't these cute? Okay, I can't see. I'm gonna back up and try to show this. So this is fun. It's giving clowny energy. It's really soft. These aren't like true flannel feeling. I don't know how to describe what I'm saying. They aren't like that fuzzy, pilly flannel. They are still just like 100% cotton. They are more reminiscent of like a flannel shirt than flannel that you would buy from like Joann Fabrics. These were semi-vintage. They were so old that they were from Walmart with like a regular tag on them. But I cut them all up into 5.5-inch squares, and then I sewed each 5.5-inch square in like groups of 2 together like this. So for instance, I made this block and then I made the opposite of this where the red and blue squares were on the outside and then the yellowy green ones were where these ones were. So this blanket is actually 4 blocks wide. Oh my God. 4 blocks wide and then 4 blocks long. Oh, I gotta sit down. Whew. So 16 blocks total. Each one of these squares is 5.5 inches. So should be like about 60 by 60, ideally. My seam allowances are never like perfect, so probably a little less than 60 by 60. But this is going to go to my nail tech's son. My nail tech is like God's gift to earth. She is so beautiful and sweet and I love her. She has a 6-year-old named Sam. He's so cute and wonderful. And he was in the other day while I was getting my nails done. And I was like, this kid needs a quilt. So this will be for him. It's like I said, a little clowny, kind of fun, kind of plain. I will say I do not like the, let me see if I can like show you guys close up what I'm talking about. So like I said, this is more reminiscent of like sewing with a flannel shirt than say like traditional quilting cotton. I don't like it. I don't like using this. It's not fun and it's not sparking joy for me. I am glad that this quilt top is done. I have an enormous amount of squares left over, like a huge pile actually that is staring at me from like over there where my sewing machine is. I might try to go through and like grab one at a time and just do like a rapid fire all over sort of patchwork situation with it just to like get it out of my life. But the finished product is really cute and sweet and like who wouldn't want like a cozy flannel quilt? But these are just not fun to sew with at all. It's like more stretchy than I need it to be. The prints like don't line up because I'm not a machine, you know what I mean? And I can't like cut everything on a perfect edge. So like the flannel prints, I worry they look sloppy or whatever. I don't know. This just, it's a slightly different material than everything else that I'm used to working with. I love the finished product, don't love doing anything with it. So we'll see what happens to the rest of these scraps. I might ask the ladies if anyone wants them just to like mess around with because they are already cut, but I just don't feel like dealing with it. This is a quilt top I finished. This is probably the beginning of the big quilting fall for me. I have my grandmother's birthday coming up soon, so I was gonna make her something. We got Gail's birthday coming up. She knows she's getting a quilt. She hates surprises, so I have a lot of quilting stuff happening in the next couple of months. Sock and I went to Lancaster yesterday to like Amish country. It was awesome. I got so much fabric. I'm not going to share about it here because I plan on working with it soon. That's my quilting story. I am still quilting. I never don't quilt. I just often give them away. Then I give them away and then I don't have them to share on the podcast and I forget about them. So that's that. I think that's it in terms of finished objects, works in progress, things I'm working on. I'm gonna move into like announcements. If you don't care about me as a person, no hard feelings, I totally get it, and I'll catch you on the next one. If you do care, listen up. I got yarn. I got my very own custom colorway for the tattoo shop. So my best friend Megan, RainbowCakeCat, very talented yarn dyer, dyed me some custom tattoo shop inspired yarn. This colorway is called Harper Street. My tattoo shop address is 200 Harper Street. It is just so fun. It's really wild and kooky and crazy. I'm sure you guys can totally see how like these are my colors. I sent Megan a bunch of photos of the inside of the tattoo studio and I said, do what you will. This is in your hands. She delivered. So little flashes of like this super bright like red, pink color, a lot of yellow, black, white, very Valentine's, very cute, very like pink lemonade. So I will actually be giving this skein of yarn away because the whole deal with how and where to get this yarn is that you have to come see me. This is only available for purchase in my physical tattoo shop space, or if you are going to see me at a tattoo convention. The only upcoming convention I'm going to be working is actually at Hocus Pocus in York, PA. I will be bringing limited quantities of the yarn with me to Hocus Pocus, but for those of you who are not local or aren't able to get it in person, I am giving this one away on this episode. And I just told everyone to go away if they didn't care about me as a person. So, joke's on them. They should have stuck around. To enter this giveaway, we're just gonna do it here on YouTube. I will announce the winner on the next podcast, like verbally, and I will show their comment here on the screen. So if anyone messages you, don't answer them. Just leave a comment below. Tell me anything. I don't care. You can talk about this podcast. You can tell me something wonderful that has happened to you. It's entirely up to you. Just leave a comment below. I will pick from any of the comments left down below the YouTube random comment picker thing. And then on the next episode, like I said, I will draw for a winner for this specific skein of yarn. All of the yarn, this skein, and the other ones that I have in like the physical realm are 75-25. That's my personal favorite base. Perfect for sock knitting, perfect to like add to your stash and just use for whatever. You could use this to make the long story short shawl. It is 437 yards and 100 grams. It's just beautiful, like absolutely gorgeous. It'd be such a fun pair of socks. So a huge thank you to Megan. Megan again is RainbowCakeCat. I will have all of her information down below. You can also get Megan's yarn at the Moon and Yarn Craft Room. So that's big and important and exciting. The next thing I want to say while we're talking about the Moon and Yarn Craft Room, if you live under a rock or don't spend a lot of time on Instagram or mostly get your Brienne updates from me here on YouTube, Brienne is moving to a new, bigger space not far from where she is now. If you are familiar with Pittsburgh, Brienne is moving from the North Hills off of Perry Highway to Bellevue. Her space is enormous and I'm so excited for her. She's a big community gal. If you've been to one of the Moon and Yarn Craft Room nights, like you know what I'm talking about. She has so much more room for activities now. It's so exciting. It's feeling so real. She is going to be closed at the end of September and then reopening in October. She has all the info for that here on this post on Instagram. I'll put a link to all of that information below as well. Please let me know if you guys think that I should do a video tour of the New Moon and Yarn craft room, because that is an idea I had kicking around in my mind. Maybe make a little trip out to Pittsburgh for some YouTube business, hang out with my gal. I have not cleared this with Brienne yet, so Brienne, sorry, this is the first time you're hearing about that idea. I'm so excited for Brienne. Brienne is like the face of the Pittsburgh like yarn community. If you disagree with me, I don't care. She is our queen. If you guys have not seen also, and you're catching this episode close to when it comes out, she's also having a moving sale. So the yarn is discounted on her website. That is part of the sale. It's all on there. All the information is on her Instagram, links below and all that stuff. But definitely like do some shopping so she has less to move. That is all that's up with Brienne. Big stuff happening. The last piece of the podcast is going to be the destash. So I have a few curated pieces from my and Sock's knitting and crochet stash of objects that for one reason or another, like I said at the beginning of the episode, like we are just at the end of our time together with these objects, and I always have really good luck like destashing them. If you are interested in anything that I show here today, I will try to include measurements and everything, but if you have any questions about any of these pieces, if you are interested in them, you can always shoot me an email and I'm happy to like answer any of your questions. And then I will get information for like payment. I have Venmo and PayPal, which are typically like the easiest. I'm only doing shipping to the United States just because I don't know if you guys have been to the post office lately, but it's just a crazy wild west we're living in. It's just usually not very fortuitous to ship outside of the US. The first thing I am destashing is actually something that I made, and it like never quite fit anybody, so it deserves a home. It's never been worn. I made a granny square tank top. So this yarn is a cotton poly blend. It will get softer over time, but it is machine wash and dryable, which is really cute and fun. It has the structured like front here, and then on the back it is just straight across. The measurements on this, the bust measurement was about 36 inches on the finished piece itself. I am like a 33-ish, and it was just too big on me. So my personal recommendation would be like 34, 35, 36. Definitely, obviously would want to wear something under it because it is a crochet top and it is see-through. But it's super cute. It's black. In person, I don't know if it's coming across this way on the screen, but in person it is like a blue-black. So just keep that in mind. The next thing up is the Moonwhistle shawl. This is one of Sock's. It is so cute. It's very autumnal. The fiber content of this is wool, alpaca. There's definitely alpaca in it. It actually was a variety pack of sorts of yarn that she had purchased in an enormous kit. And so it is a little bit of everything. I'm pretty sure there's mohair in here. So just for awareness, I know some people get like fussy about things that aren't wool. But again, Moonwhistle shawl. It's really big. It's really pretty. Oh, this is gorgeous. So big old triangle shawl, a lot of texture, kind of moody. It's giving sunset, you know, dusk. Oh, it's so pretty. An enormous shawl, variety of yarn weights. It's so cute. You can see like how big it is. It's huge. We love it. The last garment is here. It is an alpaca blend cardigan, and it has this lace detail at the bottom. Oh, this is showing up beautifully. So it is almost solid black. There is like slight tonality, but like really not much. It is really gorgeous. There is a delightful amount of drape to it. This would ideally fit someone with about a 36, 37 inch bust. The finished cardigan is open. There is not like a button band or anything. There is just the lace detail down the length of it. So there is some flexibility in terms of like the body type that it would fit, which is really fun and nice. It's a little on the longer side, but overall just like really stunning. I don't know if you guys can see like the halo above the yarn. Here she is, really cute. And then the last part of our G-stash is actually fluff yarn. There are two skeins of Rowan Kid Silk Haze. If you guys have been knitting forever, I'm sure you know what this is. If you haven't, each one of these is 25 grams. It is just solid black, 70% mohair, 30% silk. And then there's also this giant cone of mohair as well. So this is a little more rustic. You can see the halo on this is enormous, but there is a whole cone of this. It's just like a ton. This would be fun, even if you're not interested in knitting with this. This would be really fun for core spinning. Same with, you know, obviously any mohair, but really, really warm. If you threw this into a shawl, it could replace your jacket. It's just like no messing around, all business in the mohair department. If you are interested in any of these things, please send me an email. Again, you can check down below in the description box. It will either say available or not available next to all of these listings. These are some really fun, just like cutie pie, gothy finish knits, you know, for the fall season. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's it. I think. This is a really long episode. It's been a while since I've been able to podcast. We are back on like public school with Penny all the time. So Nate and my schedule is opposite, and it just gives me like a little bit of time during the day to myself, which as you all know is like good for the spirit. So I'm happy to be having some extra time back into my schedule. The craziness of summer was like really starting to wear on me. So some routine and structure is always like good for me in my heart. If you have made it to this point in the video, God bless ya. I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.